Isn't that so interesting that the ode to joy has that primal aggressive force? And
It does.
it makes joy, is, in the naive sense, it's, well, you're happy. It's like, no, this joy is that integrated, terrible power that you
Yeah.
definitely hear in superb music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
And
it's so,
and
when that choral bit kicks in, it's just overwhelming.
oh,
It's like a
it just
blow. And
makes you tingle. It's so
mhm.
exciting. And I've heard it maybe 1,000 times since then. And it still affects me the same way. And now when I'm driving somewhere and I have to get myself in the mood, I'll still put the Night Symphony on. And some of the other
Yeah,
ones work as
it's
well.
like encountering the terrible force of good. You think about Moses in the burning bush, or Jacob wrestling with God. It's like, well, why is it a burning bush? Why is it terrifying? Why do you wrestle with God? Why do you get hurt? It's like, well, because good in its full force has this integration of power. And it's no wonder it terrifies people, because it just burns everything away in comparison.
Right. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the new book that I'm writing about, which is the Sublime, is as I'm talking about, it's a combination of two emotions, of both kind of pain and pleasure, of excitement and fear at the same time. So you're confronting something that kind of intimidates you, but is so awesome that you can't, you're just overwhelmed. And the confluence of two emotions, opposing emotions at the same time, is very, very powerful for a human being.
Yeah, I've just written a book that I'm going to publish next year that's called An ABC of Childhood Tragedy, and it's a combination of dark humor and beauty. It's the same. We're experimenting with exactly the same thing, that paradoxical juxtaposition of dark and light emotions. There is something sublime about that, and something awe-inspiring about that. I guess it's part of bringing what's dark into the light, or subsuming it under the light, maybe. So why the sublime? What are you pursuing there? And what's
the reason? The ultimate in sublime is, to me, so the way I look at it is, being a human being and being socialized is a kind of a world. There's a limit, a circle that we have to live inside, certain codes and conventions that we have to abide by, and we all do that. And the codes and conventions for 5th century BC China are not the same as what we have now, but there's still that limit. And what humans are attracted to what lies beyond that limit. It's just part of our nature. It's a first part of it. And when we explore beyond the social limits and codes and things we're supposed to do and ways we're supposed to act, it's deeply exciting and thrilling. But there's also that element of fear involved, right?
See, I think that's a better, what would you call it, formulation than Nietzsche's idea of will to power, is the desire to exist on that sublime edge. And that is the border between order and chaos that you're describing, right? You want, and the thing, and that is the source of meaning itself. I mean, that's why I think music is so powerful, is because it plays with predictable forms, but continually adds that level of unpredictability, a beautiful, you know how in any kind of music, the simplest music, someone who's good at it, country music, there'll be a key shift or a twang on the string or something that...
Or something discordant.
Yes, exactly. And then and integrated within sort of a higher unity. And it's deeply meaningful. It puts you on that edge of the sublime. And we do find the meaning that helps sustain us in life exactly at that place. That's something more deeply real than anything else.
Well, so and sort of the ultimate thing beyond that limit is death itself. And the word sublime means up to the threshold of a door, or sublimin, limin being the limit.
Right, like subliminal.
And so I've been meaning to write this book for 15 years, and I got distracted. But then about 3 years ago, I nearly died myself. I had a stroke. And I came, just an inch away from dying myself. I was driving my car. And so some of the experience, the near-death experience, and what it kind of taught me, and how it sort of remained with me 3 years later, and how I kind of feel it in my bones, and how it's altered how I look at the world and everything around me, is to me the kind of the ultimate sublime experience. So now, unfortunately, I'm able to write about this in a way that's actually very personal and experiential instead of just purely intellectual. And
why, unfortunately? Because of the price you had to pay for it?
Yeah, the price is I can't take a walk. I can't do the swim. I can't do the things that I used to love. So You know, I'm kind of, I can, you know, I'm functional. I can walk around the house, but I can't take a hike, and I can't do my long distance swimming or my mountain biking or anything like that. So I paid a price, but I'm alive.
Yeah, well, and it was so interesting it was in the aftermath of that devastating experience that you decided to turn particularly to the sublime.
Yeah. Well, it's because I've been wanting to write the book for a long time, and I knew that it has to do a little bit with the feeling of death, you know, and
I don't understand that. So why make that as? I'm not disputing it. I just don't understand. Like, I mean, you talked also about 50 Cent's brush with death, but why does the sublime, in your estimation, why is it tangled up with the idea of death?
Well, because there's a that limit, and experiencing the limit gives you that sense of excitement and fear at the same time. Well, death is the ultimate limit. And to have gone up to that door and glimpsed to the other side and literally felt it in your bones and literally feel your bones melting away as you kind of go into a coma, you know, is like, I went up to that door. I actually peered inside of it. Now, other people have had much stronger near-death experiences. Mine was more of the milder sort, but still, I peered.
as far as near-death experiences go, it was relatively minor.
Well, you know, my coma lasted an hour or something. Some people, you know,
that's nothing, man. Experts, they have comas for like 3 years.
Well, okay, all right. I could have had a more intense near-death experience, but it was pretty intense.
Yeah, it sounds like it was sufficient.
It is, but so the sense of life is almost too much. It's overpowering in its immediacy, and we humans try and kind of dull the razor edge so much so that we can live. But if you think about, you know, your mortality on a day-to-day basis, and if you try and actually experience the immediacy of life and how dangerous it actually is, and how it's fraught with all of these things that you don't want to confront, is very, very, very powerful. And I'm sorry, Siri just keeps hearing me. I'm so so annoying. So you know, it creates. So when you have that, it's like the ultimate. It's a mix of, you know, they call in French the orgasm le petit mort, right? Right. So an orgasm is almost like a little death, you know. So that sense of it's almost too much, it's almost like death itself, like something so pleasurable can actually kind of morph into something a little bit frightening as well. Something a little bit like you're exploring something that you're not supposed to be exploring.
You see that in the ease in which laughter and tears can be interchanged, right? You see that with children. They can switch from laughter to tears in no time. And, you know, you can laugh so hard that you cry. And it's often, too, when you're crying about something sorrowful that someone can say something funny and it'll switch to laughter. And that's all way down at the level of instinct, right? Where these, and it's so interesting to see